Добрый вечер. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I feel so honored and pleased to have the chance to savor Chinese tea together with you. Tea is a wonderful beverage originally produced in China. The origin of Chinese tea can be traced back to the ancient times, 5,000 years ago, when the legendary figure Shen Nong first tasted tea leaves. And the tea culture flourished in the Tang and Song dynasties when tea had won the status as the national beverage. And the fashion of drinking tea had extended all over the country. Here you can see the portrait of the legendary figure Shen Nong. It was said that Shen Nong had tasted hundreds of herbs and grasses, and he had also tasted different tea leaves. And here is the classic of tea, written by Lu Yu in the Tang Dynasty. Lu Yu was honored as the tea saint, the tea sage of China. Here you can see a cafe and a tea house. You know, coffee, cocoa, and tea are the three largest drinks in the world. Just as many important events took place in cafes in the West, the important events in China also happened in the tea house. So tea house had always been the setting in the lives of Chinese people, the venue and the important setting. So China is a country with a time-honored civilization and a land of ceremony and decorum. So tea is loved by many people. Whenever guests visit, it is necessary to make and serve tea to them. So we can say that the events of tea in other countries, directly or indirectly, are basically spread out from China. And China is the homeland of tea, and the tea has become the national drink of China. The tea leaves come from the evergreen bushes in the hilly areas. The growth of tea requires proper climatic and soil conditions. Climatically, tea bushes grow well where it is warm and humid, and the temperature should not drop down below -5 degrees centigrade, and the rainfall should exceed 1,000 millimeters on a yearly basis. And as far as soil conditions are concerned, the pH value ranges between 4.5 and 6. In other words, the soil should be acidic. On the other hand, the land where tea bushes grow should be well drained. So that is precisely why the tea bushes are found in hilly and mountainous areas, but never in the plains. Now about the classification of tea. Tea from China falls into several categories. Here we can see the green tea, black tea, oolong tea, white tea, yellow tea, dark tea, and scented tea. In terms of fermentation, green tea is non-fermented, and black tea is fermented. And what about oolong tea? It is half fermented or partly fermented. and white tea is the least fermented, and the yellow tea is slightly fermented, while the dark tea is past fermented. And in terms of the color of tea leaves and the tea liquid, the tea leaves and the tea liquid of green tea are greenish, and black tea, the tea liquid and the tea leaves are reddish black. And what about the oolong tea? The tea leaves are green in the middle and red on the edge, and the tea liquid is deep brown. And white tea, the tea leaves are whitish, and the tea liquid is yellowish green. And the yellow tea, the tea leaves and the tea liquid are yellowish. And the tea leaves of dark tea are dark black, while its liquid, the tea liquid, is wine red. Now, first, green tea, the national drink of China. It has the longest history, the largest production volume, and the broadest production area. So it has the most medicinal value and the least caffeine content. Green tea is made by drying the leaves. It is non-fermented, so the tea liquid and the tea leaves are greenish. The famous brands of green tea include Longjing of West Lake, the Dragon Well tea of West Lake. It is one of the top 10 Chinese teas. There are more than 30 brands of the Longjing. And the Longjing tea, which is picked before pure brightness, is considered to be the best. Pure brightness is one of the solar terms. And Biluochun of Taihu Lake in Jiangsu Province, Longjing in Zhejiang Province. Biluochun is one of the top 10 Chinese tea too. Biluo is a hardworking, kind-hearted orphan girl. Her name is Biluo, and the Biluochun literally meaning the green conch in spring. So you can see that the leaves roll and curve like the conchs. It has long-lasting flavor, mellow taste, and the tea leaves are dark green. And clouds on Mount Lushan in Jiangxi Province. It has delicate fragrance, and the tea leaves are plucked between green rain and the beginning of summer. Green rain is also one of the solar terms, which falls in April. And Maofeng of Mount Huangshan, one of the top 10 Chinese tea. The fresh leaves are collected from the peak. Here you can see this is the famous pine tree called Guest Greeting Pine. So the fresh leaves are collected from the peak, which is enshrouded with clouds, enveloped in clouds and mists, and it is the state tea gift. Here we can see that the tea leaves are standing erectly in a glass of hot water. And the Wang Qian of Liuan Han tea in Anhui Province. It is designated as the special tea by the Central Military Commission of China. Now pay attention to the tea leaves. We can see that the edge curves upward. So it resembles resembles the lotus blossoms in hot water. So it is a kind of peace tea. And Wang Qian of Xinyang County in Henan province is also a famous brand of green tea. The next type is the black tea. It is China's second largest tea kind. While it has the largest production volume in the world, accounting for over 90% of all tea sold in the West. The black tea was born in Wuyi Mountain in Fujian province. It helps digestion, it warms the stomach, being the most suitable choice in cold seasons. So here you can see the tea liquid, reddish black. So the tea liquid and the tea leaves are reddish black. Black tea needs fermentation. Often a natural sort of fermentation when the tea leaves are heaped together for some time, say 24 hours. It can retain its flavor for several years. And the famous brands of black tea include the Qihong of Anhui province, Dianhong of Yunnan province, and the Changhong of Sichuan province. The third kind is oolong tea. Oolong tea sits between green tea and black tea. It is half or partially fermented. It was also born in Wuyi Mountain in Fujian province. The tea leaves are green in the middle and red on the edges, and the tea liquid is deep brown. It has both the delicate fragrance of green tea and the sweetness and mellowness of black tea. And it has been successfully marketed as a drink that keeps people fit and slim. It can help people lose weight. The famous brand is Tie Guanyin, the Iron Goddess of Mercy. The Goddess of Mercy is a popular bodhisattva in China, very popular, and there's a story behind the name. Legend goes that an old farmer dreamed of the Iron Goddess of Mercy in a temple. The Goddess of Mercy told him to try to find a treasure in the cave behind the temple. The old farmer made a search inside and out, only to find a sapling in the cave. And he watered it, attended to it. When the small sapling grew up into a tree, he picked some leaves, put them in the boiling water, and drank the liquid. It was so mellow and sweet and refreshing, and thus the tea got its name, Iron Goddess of Mercy. So later, after the lecture, Professor B will perform the tea ceremony of making tea with the Iron Goddess of Mercy. Will perform the tea ceremony. And Wuyi Rock Tea is also a famous brand of oolong tea. And the most typical, the most famous is the big red robe, very precious. It is sweet, fruity, fresh, with honey flavor. So we can say that it is richly endowed by the high mountain spring. Here you can see the Dongding Oolong in Taiwan. Here, plucked in the high mountains. closest to the original nature. It is the least fermented tea. It belongs to the fermented tea category. However, it is the least fermented. The tea leaves are plucked in early spring from the tender, sharp-ended buds with white hairs on it. And the leaves are carefully spread out separately without being overlapped. And the leaves dry up naturally. The white tea is also born in Fujian province. The plant is whitish and the liquid is yellowish green with fresh smell. Very tender. The famous brand is the silver needle with fine hair. You can see that the tea leaves are whitish, produced in Fujian province. Another brand is white peony, also in Fujian province. Very graceful in hot water. And yellow tea. Yellow tea is similar to green tea, except with an additional step that results in the finished tea leaves having a natural light yellow color. You can see the natural light yellow color, so it is slightly fermented. And the tea leaves and tea liquid are yellowish. It is the high-quality tea served at imperial court, effective for people who have a poor appetite. And the famous brands of yellow tea include the silver needle from Mount Junshan in Hunan province, and the Daye Qing from Guangdong province, the yellow bud from Mount Huoshan in Anhui province, and the yellow bud from Mount Mengdi in Sichuan province. So the yellowish tea leaves and the yellowish tea liquid. And the dark tea. The dark tea only exists in China, so very unique. It is an indispensable beverage for the ethnic minorities living in the remote border areas, mainly produced in Hubei, Hunan, Sichuan and Yunnan provinces. It reminds us of the ancient road where the tea and horse are exchanged in exchange for tea and horse. So it is also known as compressed tea, tightly pressed tea, because it is always compressed and hardened into a certain shape. So there are two kinds: brick tea in the form of bricks, so in the shape of bricks, usually rectangular or square, and tuo cha in the shape of cakes and bowls, round and circular. The dark tea is good for transport and storage for its sheer compactness, and it is the post-fermented tea. The famous brand is Pu'er tea. Pu'er County is located near Simao in Yunnan province. And the tea liquid is wine red with unique fragrance. And the more aged, the more fragrant. So here we can see the brick tea. One kind is the brick tea, the compressed tea. It also falls into several categories like the green brick tea, the flower brick tea, black brick tea, and rice brick tea, square or rectangular. by mixing and aromatizing tea leaves with scented flowers. So scented tea is produced mainly in Fujian, Zhejiang, Jiangsu, and Anhui provinces, mostly made of green tea or black tea and flowers. It has aromatic flavor and dark liquid. There are various kinds of scented tea. Jasmine tea, here jasmine blossom, jasmine tea, chrysanthemum tea, rose tea, and also magnolia tea and lotus flower tea. And the most famous scented tea is the jasmine tea. It is based on green tea or white tea, and a mixture of dried tea leaves and jasmine flowers. Here, jasmine flowers and dried tea leaves, a mixture. And the ratio, the proportion of the mixture bearing heavily on the quality of the tea. And the jasmine tea is subtly sweet. And next, chrysanthemum tea. You can see the chrysanthemum blossoms and the chrysanthemum tea. It is popular in East Asia. And it can be repeatedly used. It can help to reduce fever, clear liver, and brighten eyes. So it has medicinal value. Now let's come to the benefits of drinking tea. Tea is a natural and healthy drink, containing a lot of nutrients that help to build up good health. So tea is refreshing and helps you work efficiently. It can eliminate grease, dispel the effects of alcohol, and clear away summer heat. It can also be used as an antiseptic. It can detoxify. And it helps fitness against cardiovascular diseases. And tea also has medicinal value like anti-cancer, lower blood pressure, and improve eyesight. For example, the iron goddess of mercy, just now we have mentioned. It has the medicinal value, anti-cancer and anti-aging, and also resist diabetes and help people to lose weight. So there's a proverb in China: drinking a daily cup of tea will surely starve the apothecary. So here we can see that drinking tea can quench thirst, overcome fatigue, and help digestion. Tea leaves contain some aromatic substances which can dissolve fat. That is the reason tea leaves can help people lose weight. And tea leaves are also said to contain various vitamins, notably vitamin C. Now about the tips. A few tips about becoming beautiful by drinking scented tea. The rose tea and the peony tea have the function of skin whitening. Of course, you do not need to whiten skin, but in the East, the skin whitening, the function is useful. And the lemongrass tea and the jasmine tea can help people lose weight. And the violet tea, here the violet blossom, the violet tea and the marigold tea here have the function of reducing stress. And there are also some taboos. You know, there are usually two sides to one issue. dinner, you may lose the appetite, and it will be hard to get the nutrients. If you drink tea immediately after dinner, it may lower the daily taking. And do not drink too hot tea. If the tea is too hot, it may hurt organs like the throat. And do not drink cold tea. You may have more phlegm, and it is easy to catch cold. And try to avoid repeated infusion, and do not drink overnight tea. The overnight tea may lose some nutrients and also produce harmful elements. And do not drink tea, do not take tea and medicine at the same time, for they are likely to be incompatible with each other. And the medicine may lose its medicinal effects. And over-drinking tea, especially strong tea, may result in headache, stomach disorder, or insomnia. Insomnia, that's the habitual inability to go to sleep. So do not drink tea before you go to bed. Otherwise, you will find it difficult to go to sleep. And water for tea brewing should be below 80 degrees centigrade, so as not to destroy the vitamin C built in the tea leaves. And what are factors that make the tea go bad? There are 4 factors: air, water, high temperature, and strong light. So remember, never store tea like these. So never store tea in the envelope, for the envelope can't keep the tea from the air and water very well. And never wrap tea with newspaper, because newspaper has lead, which is harmful to the health. And what are the right ways to store tea leaves? For short time storage, put the tea leaves into small plastic bags, and then put the plastic bags into the metal tin or the ceramic pot. And for long time storage, put the plastic bags into the refrigerator. And there are also some tips to recycle tea leaves. Chinese people enjoy tea-flavored eggs. Firstly, cook the eggs thoroughly, and then gently break the eggshells and add tea leaves to the water. So very delicious tea-flavored egg. And make tea pillow. Dry the tea leaves in the sun and fill the pillow with the dried tea leaves. So the tea pillow can keep you refreshed and sober and enhance your thinking ability. And the tea can also get rid of mosquitoes. Use the dried tea leaves and light the dried tea leaves. So ignite them, and then the mosquitoes will disappear. And the tea leaves can also sterilize and cure barb ears using green tea, but one has to be persistent. One has to be persistent and repeat the therapy. And clear up affected breath. Rinse the mouth with strong tea and keep the tea leaves in the mouth. Okay, now shall we move on to Chinese tea ceremony. The tea ceremony was originated in China. Nowadays, tea ceremony has been spread all over the world, such as Great Britain, Japan, and South Korea. The Chinese tea ceremony is an art of making tea. It can promote friendship. It helps us learn the etiquette and ritual tea must be new and water must be flowing and alive. Lu Yu, the tea saint of China, pointed out that water from high mountains is best, followed by water from rivers, and then water from wells. So the water from high mountains, enveloped in the clouds and mists, is considered to be the best, crystal clear, richly endowed, uncontaminated, is the best for making tea. And the water from brooks is not pure. It smells of the earth, so it is only the second best. And the water from wells ranks the third. You know the wells, the artificial spring from underground, are often stagnant, still, and tainted with the flavor of salt, so only ranking the third. Unfortunately for us, we don't even have the third type. We usually make tea with either tap water or artificially purified water. And Chinese people also like to make tea with snow, the freshly collected snow. Snow is white, yet it is easily contaminated. So people would like to collect fresh snow. So just imagine the scene of making aromatic tea with freshly collected snow. Seeking leisure. So what a leisurely scene. And the Chinese people also value springs. Lu Yu, the tea saint of China, had traveled around China tasting different springs. And then he came to the conclusion that the spring from Baotu spring, the Baotu spring in Jinan, Shandong province, is the best. And the Huishan spring in Wuxi, in Jiangsu province, ranks the second. And the Hupao spring in Hangzhou in Zhejiang province came the third. So quality water is a must. And then the tea leaves and the utensils, the tea set. Here we can see the tea rack, teacup, and usually the porcelain teacup and Bacaro teapot, and pottery stove, and the fire. Just now we have learned that the water should be live and flowing, and the fire should also be live. And the live fire refers to the charcoal fire. Charcoal fire is live, and it is also slow. It lights slowly. And the charcoal also exudes a sense of the wild. So the charcoal fire, for the preparation, the four elements. And there are four tenets that a tea drinker should observe: color, aroma, taste, and form. In terms of color, for example, the white tea. The tea is whitish with the soft, fine, white hair on it. And the green tea leaves are fresh and tender with a touch of yellow. So green with a touch of yellow. And for the oolong tea, the tea leaves are green in the middle and red on the edge. And the tea liquid is deep brown, giving a sense of weight and seclusion. And the aroma. So smell the aroma with the nose and taste it with the tongue. The most important taste of tea is bitterness. So tea itself has the bitterness. Bitterness is the most important taste. When you sip slowly, the bitterness will turn into sweetness. So when bitterness ends, sweetness begins. So you have to sip slowly, which will make your mind calm. So seeking leisure. And form. For example, when we make green tea, people usually use a glass of hot water. Why? Because they can appreciate the tea dance. The tender and fresh tea leaves of the long tea, green tea, actually can stand up before it unfold and stretch and fall down in the cup of glass, and as if they were performing a graceful dance. So that's the form. And for the 花片 of Liu An County, the leaves curve upward, resembling the lotus blossoms in hot water. So there are 4 tenets a tea drinker should observe. Here are the basic steps involved in a Chinese tea ceremony. The first step, boiling water. Boiling water to heat the teapots and the teacups. And step 2, adding tea leaves into the teapot. And step 3, pouring boiling water into the teapot. And step 4, washing tea. The tea liquid of the first teapot is used to wash the tea. So people usually don't drink it. And step 5 is the first brewing. And step 6, distributing the tea liquid. And step 7, smelling the aroma of the first brewing with the nose. And step 8, tasting the tea with the tongue. And finally, appreciating the tea with the heart. So here we can see 8 steps. The next, here are the procedures of Kung Fu tea ceremony. Here, the Kung Fu has nothing to do with martial art. Here, Kung Fu means it takes time to make the tea. So it is time consuming. And people usually use oolong tea to make the Kung Fu tea. And the procedures include heating cups. Here, heating cups, the teapots and the teacups, and setting tea. Adding the tea leaves into the teapot. And also washing tea. Making tea, drinking, and enjoying the tea. So here we have 5 steps. Here you know that the tea ceremony, the ritual can be performed in different ways. In China, the ritual can be performed in different ways. We can have 6 steps, 5 steps, or as many as 18 steps. So now I will show you the video clips of making the oolong tea. There are as many as 18 steps.
茶行茶法共分为18步骤，每一步骤由一个标题概括。丝竹和鸣，准备茶具、挂画、点香、演奏音乐，等待嘉宾。茶会有一期一会之说，每一次的茶会都可能是一生中仅有的一次，所以要以很虔诚的心来做准备工作，以很喜悦的心情来等待嘉宾的来临。
Here you can see the tea sets.
恭迎嘉宾。精品鉴赏。评茶4步骤，首先在赏干茶。油亮美观的茶叶还未冲泡，就已令人神往。
Observing with the eyes.
现在为大家冲泡的是高山翠玉。
乌龙 tea from Taiwan.
佳茗入宫。苏轼曾有诗言：“从来佳茗不似佳人。”将茶倾至壶中，如请佳人轻移帘布，登堂入室，满室生香。茶汤汤色维持同样的浓淡。荷塘飘香。旋律高雅。第一泡茶冲水。茶海词行。中国人说，斟茶7分满，斟酒8分满。主人斟茶时无富贵贫贱之分，每位客人皆斟7分满，倒的是同一把壶中泡出的同浓淡的茶汤。将未香蒸的茶汤倒入品杯中。幽谷芬芳，高等沉香的开满百花的幽谷，随着温度的逐渐降低，散发出不同的芬芳，有高温香、中温香、冷香，值得细细体会。杯里观色，好茶的茶汤清澈明亮，从翠绿、蜜绿到金黄，令人观之赏心悦目。听味品趣，茶艺的美包含了精神层面和物质层面，即感官的享受和人文的满足。所以，品茶时要专注眼、耳、鼻、舌、身、意全方位投入，品味再三。一杯茶分3口以上慢慢细品，饮进杯中茶，品自3个口， 一小口一小口慢慢喝，用心体会茶的美。和静清寂，静坐回味，品趣无穷。
Okay, now Chinese tea in the world. During the Tang Dynasty, the Japanese monks first brought the Chinese tea seeds to Japan, and by combining the tea with the Zen Buddhism, created the world-famous Japanese tea ceremony. And in modern history, the Dutch brought to Europe the Chinese habit of drinking tea, and it had become a tradition of the Europeans. And in Great Britain in particular, people developed the custom of afternoon tea. So China is the homeland of tea. China has made great contribution to tea culture, and the tea culture has spread to Japan, Britain, and the US. The English word tea is actually the transliteration of the tea in the Fujian dialect, Bohi, meaning the black tea in Wuyi Mountain in Fujian province. Now, tea in Japan. The eminent monk Zui Chen of the Tang Dynasty first brought Chinese tea seeds to Japan in the 9th century in the Tang Dynasty. And the tea ceremony was also introduced into Japan by the Japanese Buddhists in the Song Dynasty. But the Japanese tea ceremony has its own typical features. Before going to take part in a tea ceremony, you have to make some preparations for it. For example, do the hairdressing, wear the traditional costume, the kimono, and then remove your shoes before entering a Japanese home to keep the inside of the home clean. And step 1, before you enter the tea room, you will have to go through a stretch of natural landscape first, which is meant to make you calm and integrate yourself into the nature. And step 2, at the door of the tea room, you need to wash your hands and rinse your mouth to get rid of earthliness. And here on the wall, you can see a piece of writing, the calligraphy, 4 Chinese characters, 和, 静, qing, ji, translated as harmony, respect, purity, and quietness or seclusion, which is the spirit of Japanese tea ceremony. And the next steps are quite simple. Clean the serving bowls, boil a pot of water, and serve a sweet treat to guests before the tea. And then mix powdered bitter green tea and water to make a frothy tea and serve the tea to guests. So the tea in Japanese tea ceremony is known as matcha. So matcha is the powdered green tea, the powdered ground tea leaves, so powdered green tea. And the tea liquid is green and frothy. So here the tea set. And here used to stir tea whisk. So, on its most basic level, Chinese tea ceremony emphasizes the tea itself rather than the ceremony. So I've mentioned that the ritual, the tea ceremony, can be performed in different ways. So Chinese tea ceremony focuses on what the tea tastes like, smells like, and how the tea tastes compared with the previous tea. It doesn't mean that each server will perform the ritual in the same way. So you can perform it in different ways. And it is not related to religion. So every step taken during the ceremony is meant to be a sensory exploration and the time of appreciation. While the experience of tea ceremony in Japan can have 3 dimensions. First of all, it is a social event, being formal, very formal. And then it stresses aesthetics very much, having strict and very complicated procedures and complex patterns. Finally, it has a religious dimension, having close relation with Zen Buddhism. So it is closely related to religion, philosophy, aesthetics, and sociology. So the Chinese tea also spread to Western countries. In the very beginning to Russia, and afterwards became popular in Britain and then to the United States. Tea in Britain. So most English people drink black tea, known as afternoon tea, or also known as high tea, low tea, together with some snacks, bread, cakes, etc. The tea in US, Americans do not like hot tea. They often add ice or sugar to the tea, so they drink the iced tea and also instant tea. And there are different ways of drinking tea. So the ways of drinking tea differ in different countries and regions. For example, in Africa, people drink tea which is mixed with sugar and meat. And in Europe, people add sugar or milk into the tea. While in China, people prefer to drink plain tea with its natural flavor. People believe that plain tea is better. The mix will reduce the medicinal or tonic value of the tea to a certain degree. So people prefer plain tea. Now, a brief introduction to the classification of tea sets. Here we can see the tea rack. And on it, this is the teapot. Macaro teapot, and a tea bottle, and tea cups, teaspoon, and tea stove, pottery tea stove, and tea kettle, better the pottery tea kettle, and a tea sieve. And this is the tea mill used to grind tea, and this is the tea grind. And this is the tea whisk. So, the classification of tea sets. The tea stove or the tea cooker. And about the tea sets made of different materials. Porcelain tea sets, the porcelain tea cups. And the Bacaro, very precious, purple sand teapot. made in Yixi, near the Taihu Lake in Jiangsu province. The Bacaro teapot, very precious. And the Muyu stone tea sets. Muyu stone, the wooden fish tea sets. And the lacquerware tea sets. And the bamboo tea sets. Enamel tea sets. And the glass tea sets. For the green tea, people prefer to use the glass tea sets so that they can appreciate the tea dance. And the metal tea sets. So for oolong tea, there are 4 treasures. So what are the 4 treasures for making oolong tea? First, the stove, the charcoal pottery stove, and the pottery kettle, and the teapot, the Bacaro teapot, and the porcelain teacup. The 4 treasures for making oolong tea. And a few words about tea customs. Making tea and serving tea are used as a sign of respect. The younger generations shows its respect to the older generations by offering a cup of tea. In some places, there is the custom of presenting tea 3 times. The first time as a sign of welcome, and second, hospitality, and finally as a sign of good wishes, so as a sign of respect, and to apologize. People make serious apologies to others by pouring them tea as a sign of regret and submission, and also to express thanks to your elders on your wedding day. Traditionally, both the bride and the bridegroom would kneel down in front of their parents and serve them tea. And in Beijing, if you visit Beijing, try the big bowl tea. So drink with the big bowl, enough to quench thirst. And in Chengdu, Sichuan province, there is the covered bowl tea. And you can find that this is the teacup, and then there is a cover representing the heaven. And then there's also the saucer symbolizing the earth. So complete harmony between man and nature. And in Guangzhou, people drink morning tea together with various kinds of snacks. And here you can see the tea service masters. Okay, the kids. They are performing with the teapot. The teapot has a very long spout. So very interesting and fascinating. Okay. Performance. Lovely kid. So enjoy your tea and enjoy your life. Now Professor B will perform the tea ceremony for us, making the oolong tea with the Iron Goddess of Mercy. Remember the oolong tea, the Iron Goddess of Mercy, the story behind it? Okay, please.